What's up, truckers? Tricky Mick here, and today we are in the 4th day of the UAW strike, so let's get right into it.
The cops are going to show up if he doesn't.
Now, this is the last thing you want to happen to you as a truck driver here at the Michigan Assembly Plant in Wayne for Ford Motor Company. If you run into any striking workers or picket lines or even protesters, as we have seen in the past, the best option for you is going to be continuing to a safe location, parking, calling dispatch, and getting a plan going, because you do not want to be the truck driver here on YouTube or on the news with everyone looking at you and wondering why you are trying to cross lines like this or causing even more chaos to the people here striking. So let's get right into it. The UAW strike day 4. GM threatens to send 2,000 workers home. Ford cuts 600 jobs. As the auto workers strike enters day 4, the two sides are digging in. On one side, the United Auto Workers, who say record corporate profits should yield a record contract. We went backwards roughly 10 an hour in wages over the last 6 years, UAW President Shawn Fain told NPR. At the same time, in the last decade, these companies have made $250 billion in profits. And I would say that hyperinflation is probably not helping this situation out at all. On the other hand are the big three automakers, General Motors, Ford, and Stellantis, who say they have put historically generous offers on the table while also emphasizing that there are limits. Our goal is to secure a sustainable future that provides all our UAW represented employees with an opportunity to thrive in a company that will be competitive during the automotive industry's historic transformation, Stellantis said in a statement. They're talking about EVs. Fain told Morning Edition on Monday that the union had minimal conversations with all three companies over the weekend and the ball is still in their court. Fain said the union wanted to start substantively bargaining 2 months ago, but the companies waited until just before their contracts expired last week to actually start really talking. We have a long way to go, he said, and if the company does not respect the demands of our workers, then we will escalate action. In the meantime, the ripple effects have already started. Workers are out of jobs and companies won't pay them. Ford told 600 workers not to report to work at its Michigan Assembly Plant's body construction environment because the metal parts they make need to be coated promptly for protection and the paint shop is on strike. General Motors warned that 2,000 workers are expected to be out of work at its Fairfax Assembly Plant in Kansas this week. The company says that's due to a shortage of critical materials supplied by the stamping operations at its Wentzville plant in Missouri. The historic strike kicked off right after the stroke of midnight on Friday morning, with 9% of the UAW's nearly 150,000 new members walking off their jobs. The three auto plants, the General Motors assembly plant in Wentzville, a Stellantis assembly plant in Toledo, Ohio, and part of a Ford plant in Wayne, Michigan, were the first to join the picket lines. Normally, companies give partial pay to workers when a plant is idled. But because in this case it's due to a strike, the companies say there is no such compensation. General Motors said in a statement, "We are working under an expired agreement at Fairfax. Unfortunately, there are no provisions that allow for company-provided sub-pay in this circumstance." Fain accused the companies of choosing temporary layoffs in an effort to intimidate workers. The UAW says it will make sure that affected workers don't go without an income. "We'll take care of our workers no matter what we have to do," Fain said. Here's the latest. Union strategy. 13,000 auto workers at the three Midwest plants, about 9% of the unionized workforce at the big three automakers, were the first to walk off the job. Now more workers are temporarily out of work as the automakers are asking hundreds of non-striking workers not to show up to work. Negotiation and demands. The UAW's call for a 40% pay increase is still intact as negotiations continue. Also on the docket are pensions, cost of living adjustments, and quality of life improvements. Reactions. President Biden urged automakers to share their profits with workers as the strike tested his bid to be the most pro-labor president. He is dispatching Julie Su, the acting labor secretary, and Gene Sperling, a White House senior advisor, to Detroit to help with negotiations. Now, there's another part of this going on, too. Canada might be joining the strike. We have it right here at Reuters. Ford could face new strike in Canada. Ford Motor Company could face a strike in Canada if no agreement is reached by 11:59 p.m. Monday, with the union representing about 5,600 Canadian auto workers, just days after workers at one of its U.S. plants went on strike. On Friday, the United Auto Workers Union launched a targeted strike against Ford, General Motors, and Chrysler parent Stellantis, targeting one assembly plant at each company. Canadian union Unifor, whose contract with Ford expires at 11:59 p.m. Monday, said, "While we remain at the table, the likelihood of a strike increases with each passing hour." Ford has two engine plants in Canada that build V8 motors for F-Series and Super Duty pickups assembled in the United States. It also has an assembly plant in Ontario. A walkout by Canadian workers that shut down those engine plants could cripple U.S. production of Ford's most profitable vehicles, even if the UAW decides not to order walkouts at truck plants in Kentucky, Dearborn, Michigan, and Kansas City, Missouri. Separately, about 12,700 U.S. auto workers are on strikes as part of a labor action targeting 3 U.S. assembly plants, one at each of the Detroit 3, after the prior 4-year labor agreements expired. Talks between the UAW and the Detroit automakers continued on Monday as a strike by auto workers over pay dragged on for a 4th day with little sign of progress toward a deal. Union negotiators and representatives of GM, Ford, and Stellantis held talks over the weekend in an attempt to end one of the most ambitious industrial labor actions in decades. On Monday, the UAW held talks with Stellantis, though no deal was reached. It has scheduled a new round of talks with Ford for late afternoon. UAW President Shawn Fain told NPR Monday that there were minimal conversations over the weekend, so the ball's in their court. We have a long way to go. He said the UAW is ready to do what was necessary when asked whether it would extend the strike to other plants this week. In a separate MSNBC interview, Fain said talks were moving slowly. We'll see how things progress the next few days, and if we have to amp up pressure, that's what we're going to do. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen said it was premature to forecast the strike's impact on the economy, which would depend on how long the action lasted and what was affected. This is already going to be affecting the economy, as you've seen the workers showing up, the truck drivers showing up to deliver parts and being unable to get that job done, which creates an extraordinary problem for just-in-time delivery, which is what most of the auto industry is for truck driving. The strikes have halted production at plants in Michigan, Ohio, and Missouri that produce the Ford Bronco, Jeep Wrangler, and Chevrolet Colorado alongside other popular models. Ford on Friday told 600 workers that are not on strike at the Michigan Bronco plant that they should not come to work indefinitely because of the impact of the work stoppage. GM says it expects to halt operations at its Kansas car plant entirely this week because of the strike at its nearby Missouri plant, affecting 2,000 workers. Analysts expect plants that build more profitable pickup trucks like Ford's F-150, GM's Chevy Silverado, and Stellantis' Ram to be the next strike targets if the walkout continues. Shares of BlueScope Steel slipped to an over 3-month low as the strike weighs on its North American business. The Australian steelmaker generated nearly 42% of its fiscal 2023 sales revenue from North America. The union and companies are at loggerheads over pay and benefits for workers. The 3 automakers have proposed 20% raises over the 4.5-year term of their proposed deals, though that is only half of what the UAW is demanding through 2027. The UAW at one point during the talks offered to lower its demand to 36%. Besides higher wages, the UAW is also demanding shorter work weeks, restoration of defined benefit pensions, and stronger job security as automakers make the shift to electric vehicles. And you can see the 3 plants here, the Wayne Assembly plant, the Toledo Stellantis plant, and the GM plant over in Wentzville, Missouri here. Now, this is definitely going to cause some major problems if it continues past a week. We're already seeing BlueScope starting to lose some of its value. We're seeing trucks show up to plants being turned away, and there's no doubt in my mind or anyone else's that's paying attention that this is going to cause a severe problem for the United States economy. A large portion of our economy is based on the auto industry. And when these plants are shut down, the workers who work at these plants are no longer spending money at the restaurants around there. They're gonna skip out on haircuts and all the extra things that they would normally be spending money on, shoes. There's just a large amount of small business that is centered around plants like this. So let us know in the comments what you're thinking and what your opinion is of what the UAW is asking and what the big 3 are offering. And do you think the strike is going to continue? Well, I'm Tricky Mick. Keep on rolling, and let's see what's happening here at the end.